Almonty is a leading supplier of conflict-free tungsten with its flagship Sangdong mine in South Korea and existing production in Portugal. We've got CEO Lewis Black joining us. The company has been very busy, having just completed a NASDAQ listing along with a $90 million US equity raise. And this is in the backdrop with a growing tungsten price in the market. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Lewis, welcome back. How's it going?
Hi, Martin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Like I was saying, a lot's happened. Why don't you just do a quick review of some of the key things that have happened over the last 60, 90 days since we last spoke, to bring investors up to date and give a little bit of insight as to what's going on there.
Well, I think at a very high level, tungsten market is still in crisis. Nothing available. Prices have now hit 50-year highs and they continue to go up. We're still the only credible man's left standing outside of China. We completed our IPO onto the NASDAQ. We raised $90 million. We were enormously oversubscribed. And I think the bankers told me that after the 350 deals that they've done, they never had such a take up. I think it was almost 95% conversion. And I don't think it's a reflection of my charm or wit. I think it's more a case of the fact that we are a unique animal in an extremely strategically important sector. You cannot build, well, munitions and armor, but a whole plethora of other industrial activities without tungsten. And right now, there's still no end in sight to this crisis. So we find ourselves very much at the front and center of solving a number of issues in the US, and are very fortunate that we're about to open.
All right. Well, with the Sangdong mine, how is that proceeding? We're expecting production to begin later this year, I believe.
Yes, yeah, but production is going to start. I mean, look, I have a whole series of gray hairs on the side of my head that weren't existing before I started this build. And I have to be honest, come the revolution, there is a whole bunch of contractors that are going up against the wall. But we are in the final throes. I'm very happy now that I'm able to really focus pretty much all of my attention back into this, because of course the IPO was a journey. I mean, it's not something which you can take lightly. It's a huge undertaking. I made, I think, 90 something presentations. And so I'm feeling much happier now that I'm just getting my hands back into the nitty gritty of what's got to be done. And I'm very comfortable with the progress. So touch wood, everything is moving as it should. It looks fantastic. It's the largest tungsten project to have been built since, I believe, the beginning of the 70s, which is when Sandvik's mine in Austria was built. So it's a huge undertaking. And it's, how can I say, the mine underground is finished. It's bringing ore to surface. We're doing the final, few things on the plant. But yeah, any construction is misery. It's just miserable. It's just, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's your bathroom in your house or a mine. It's always those last couple of months that you just want to pull your hair out.
All right. You raised $90 million US. What do you see as being the use of proceeds for that?
Oh, with downstream, we're going to downstream. There's no vertical transparent smelter that exists currently on the planet. And so we slot into a very, we increase our uniqueness, which I think is very important, as well as the fact that it's really the first step of looking perhaps even further downstream. When you have something that no one else has, which is the raw material, and it's coming online, in the next couple of months, you want to make the decision, well, if I look in the past history, mines were their own customers. If we look at this mine in Korea, it created some of the biggest corporations in Korea while it was open, like POSCO, like Tagutek, like Pusan. And it did so because, well, it was his own customer. And then, of course, China arrived with very cheap material, and so it was cheaper to buy from China than it was to produce it yourself. And so uh, the mines were cast off, hence why we're all in this mess right now. But there's nothing to say that, given that no one's coming online anytime soon in tungsten, that we don't explore perhaps this possibility of being our own customer as well. So everything is on the table. But as I am a shareholder first and foremost, before I'm a manager, I want to ensure that I get the best bang for my buck. And we're just coming into the US market. We have a great retail following in Germany and a great retail following in Canada. I think now is the time as we start this journey on the NASDAQ. We're in the quiet period, obviously it's summer, but as retail and institutions really start to discover us over and above the institutions that came into the IPO, I think we could really see some great activity, but the price of that activity is they expect me to deliver value. And that's the one thing I think that sets us apart from pretty much any other junior miner. I'm a major shareholder. I put millions and millions of dollars of my own money into this company. I am motivated by value, not by title, not by a nice office, not by a statue to myself or being called the king of tungsten. All of that is irrelevant. I just do this to value add my stock, my holdings. And as a consequence, everyone gets dragged along with me.
All right. And part of that exposure, you have recently been added to the TSX Global Mining Index. So that puts you on automatically into some maybe ETFs and funds, and puts you in on some radars automatically with that.
Yes, I think that's going to, now we're on the NASDAQ, I'd expect to see us join more indexes because obviously our size is getting to that point where we are now attractive to institutions who, as you say, ETFs will automatically move over to you. One in particular that I'm still waiting because they only feature Chinese tungsten companies. So I very much hope that on review, they will then include us. And I think this is all good for driving visibility and liquidity. But I think ultimately, what really gives us the visibility is that we are one of one, and we
Yeah.
have something that nobody else has currently and is a decade away from being able to provide it into the market. And, I like to believe that we've done a very good job to date, that we are creative and nimble, and that we're very aware of the opportunity that is being presented to us. And we have no intention of letting it slip by.
All right. You've added a new CFO recently as well. That's just call it strengthening the bench strength, getting the team up to speed for the job that's ahead.
Yes, Brian. I've known Brian. He's a very well qualified person, as was our former CFO, who's still with us and he's staying with us. But we have to accept the fact that when we redomicile, we then have to work in US GAAP, and we have to have somebody who's very familiar with SEC filings. And with greatest respect to my Canadian colleagues, that's completely lost on them. US GAAP and SEC means nothing.
Oh
Brian,
yeah.
of course, this is what he does, and it's important that we put together a team as we elevate the company into a higher bracket of performance, that we strengthen and improve our team. But knowing, again, going back to the fact that I'm a shareholder first and foremost, I'm not big on huge SG&A costs. It's always a temptation, and I've seen it. We've raised 90 million, and all of a sudden, people have got all these great ideas of how to spend it. It's extraordinary. I'm very much of the thought that if it doesn't add value to my stock, I will not do it. So Brian is a great addition. I would imagine that we'll also take on a compliance officer because, again, we are in a totally different ballpark now, both in value and in visibility. We have to make sure that we, essentially comply with every standard that's required of us. So this is all that is. It's a strengthening of the C-suite, but not at cost that is going to make everybody start weeping.
All right. What sort of milestones should investors be looking for over the next quarter or two to be announced from the company?
Well, firstly, obviously the opening of the mine. So that's
Yeah.
phase one, and that'll be very important. Secondly, You know, I may have some news regarding the molybdenum. Obviously, we have a fully permitted molybdenum mine there, and there's work is ongoing there, so that we'll probably be able to put that more into a resource instrument that we could, you know, that would be give us greater visibility in terms of value. And now I'm not sure I can even say this, but I'm going to try anyway. Uh, I'm also looking at something else within related to tungsten that I believe will dramatically also add value. I think we're going to utilize what we have more efficiently and, you know, more correctly in my mind. And that's meant looking perhaps at further downstreaming. So let's see how that evolves. But there is an enormous opportunity here. I'm not going to waste it.
And when you talk about,
I'm a defense company, basically.
yeah. When you talk about downstreaming, you're talking about adding more value to this tungsten as further steps down the value chain. That's what you mean, right?
Well, I mean, if you make bread, if you want to eat bread, you need wheat to start the
Yeah.
process. You know, do you go from wheat to grinding it? Do you go then grinding to flour? Do you go then flour to the, you know, the mixture and then the mixture to the bread? At what
Yeah.
point do you embrace all of the downstream? Because without the wheat, there is no bread.
Yeah.
And right now, without the tungsten, there's not an awful lot in a
Yeah.
number of different areas. So are we served? I mean, what's very important is you don't just want to be a replacement for cheap Chinese material, because all of my customers, God bless them all, they got very used to this idea that material was subsidized heavily by the Chinese government, and they were able to really drive enormous margins on the back of cheap raw materials, not just tungsten, but across the board.
Yeah.
And now they have to come to the realization, what do we do? Do we start now to really develop supply chains, or we just look to junior miners to replace China, you know, Chinese subsidized prices by having their shareholders subsidize cheap prices? So, you know, there's no friends here. I'd like there to be, but there really isn't. So we have to look as a company, how do we best maximize what we have?
All right. Louis, we should wrap it up here. Any final comments?
Well, I would just say we've done this a long time. We are the last tungsten guy standing that's with any credibility. For a lot of our own money into this, we have formerly the world's largest tungsten mine, fully funded and about to open. And we've listed on the NASDAQ, we've moved domiciled in the US, and so far the US retail hasn't really discovered us. What happens when they do?
All right. Well, it's something to think about. Louis, have a great day. Thanks for chatting. I'm looking forward to further updates. Have a great day.
Thanks, Martin. Thank you very much. Have a great day.